All right, this is the last lesson of this unit. So this is Unit 5A, Section 7. And we're calling this Classify and Solve. And this is pretty much a review of everything you've done so far and deciding which method is going to be the best method to use to find the solutions. Now let's go back again to the big idea. The big idea of this entire unit is, where does the parabola cross the x-axis? Now throughout this whole unit, we thought of different ways we could do that. Oh, before we talk about that, let's go back. There's different ways we can call where it crosses the x-axis. We have solutions. We have zeros. And we have roots. And if we're talking about a word problem, and you should be able to answer this, we might say, where does it hit the ground or the water? Okay, whatever we're throwing. So this is the big idea that we've been doing. The entire unit is all about, where does the parabola cross the x-axis? So don't lose sight of the big idea. Now we have a couple different ways we've done this. The first way, if we hand graph it, that works okay, but it's not exact. And so this is not an exact answer. And if we're doing something algebraically, we're not going to use this as a final answer. We might use this as an idea of what we're looking for, but this would not be the best way to get an exact answer. The second way is factoring and zero product property. Now this one is the easy if it's a simple equation that's easily factored. So I always look for this. Because if I can do this, that's going to be much faster than any of the other ways. So if I can see that it's easily factored, I'm going to use factoring. Okay? The next step, the next type is completing the square. Now, at this point in your algebraic career, there has to be a couple things that have to be true for this to work for you. A has to be 1, and B has to be even. Now, when you get to Algebra 2, something to look forward to is how to do this when A doesn't equal 1 and what you can do when B isn't even. But for right now, we just want you to get the idea of how to complete the square. If A isn't 1 and B isn't even, you end up with a lot of different fractions, which I find fun to do. But then you might get lost in the problem, and I don't want to let you get lost in the problem. So it's more about understanding how to complete the square. You will need factoring and completing the square for your next math classes. Geometry and Algebra 2 are going to expect that you know how to do this. So that's part of the reason we're teaching it at this point. But we're teaching it at the simplest level possible, so you just learn how to do that. The next way is using your graphing calculator. And this is okay to use if you need a decimal answer, when a decimal answer is acceptable. And I'll use this in a lot of my word problems to see what the answer is in decimal form. It is usually the quickest way if you're good at using graphing calculator. It can be very frustrating if graphing calculator is difficult for you. Okay, number 5 is the one that when all else fails, it's quadratic formula. It's our ever faithful quadratic formula. It's very complicated. There's a lot of places to make mistake, but it works every time. So it works for all problems. Okay, and so these are the methods we can use when we're doing these problems, okay? I'm going to pause there and I'm going to start a new video with some of the examples from the homework. So you might want to go pull up the homework and then we'll do some of those together.